quite good. So yeah, we alluded to this next one a little bit when we talked about Valplume. Now I was stunned when I worked this out. In Madison, there was no stall in day two at all, which I was like, what? It did so well last weekend. Well, over the Sydney, Sao Paulo, and what was the other one? Santa Clara, littered everywhere. Both variants, Reggie Gigas, Mel Metal Volplume, all that, and the Slow King Shedinja. So my question to you is, Rudy, what on earth happened? What were people playing it? Was everyone teching for it so it just didn't get into day two? Give us the lowdown.
Well, I think number one, everyone was checking for it. Everyone either played the Persian, the Oranguru, or whatever other cards you use for it. Two, Reshazard is a really, really good deck to answer stall, which
Yeah.
is very popular. And three, there was only 9 in the event.
Okay.
So I think that stall is still a very, very powerful archetype, and it should be on your radar if you want to do well. As that, like, play the Arcanine, I believe, because I think stall is really strong, and I don't think I want to take a loss to that deck. Um, but the poor showing in this event definitely comes with like it was expected that this deck would not show up, in my
Okay.
opinion.
Okay, that's fair. And same question to you, Kurt. What happened? You were there. You were commentating, right? What was going on?
Exactly as Rudy said, Mill again is a deck that kind of remains at a level, and as the meta shifts around it, it gets its spot, right? So,
Yeah.
If everybody just assumed that nobody was, enough other people were going to counter it, kind of quash the disease by community, vaccination, if you will, of Mill, and that just didn't happen. Everybody assumed that. Then Mill could have easily run through this tournament.
Yeah.
However, on the backside, a lot of people picked up Reshizard to help fight the Mill matchup. And then the people that weren't playing Reshizard, you could look through their lists and find 1 or 2 techs that, to be quite frank, Mill has historically been soft to. Whether it was the Bunnelby with Rototiller, or the Oranguru with Resource Management, or quite simply against Shedinja decks like Lysander Labs and Field Blower, just basic stuff like that. You saw Field Blower counts go up a little bit. So, I just don't think it was its weekend. Rudy mentioned you need to keep it on your radar. Absolutely. I definitely think it's worth that spot or 2 in your deck to counter it, because there's nothing worse than taking a fat L to stall when you could have just included 1 card and been able to just dismantle it. So I think that's the quick and dirty on why Mill didn't show up or didn't do well in Madison.
Okay, that seems pretty good. Like we were saying, like you said, Mill sort of has its time, then everyone sort of decides not anymore, so it goes down. My question to you is, Rudy, looking at the back of these results, like let's say, Johnny Casual looks at the results and sort of, oh, there's no Mill in day two, Mill must be dead, I'll take my techs out. Do you reckon people will do that on a mass level, or do you reckon people will still respect it enough to where it might not have a good showing again in Columbus?
So now I think is where Mill becomes viable again, because all the good players will keep their techs in.
Okay.
All the average players will take their techs out. So Mill will run through day 1 of the event. I don't think it's gonna be good enough to like top 8 an event for a little while at least, but I think Mill is very relatively safe for day 2ing an event at this point in time.
Okay. Same question to you, Kirk. What are we thinking?
Last season I played Waylord at 3 or 4 expanded events and dunked at top 64 at least every single one that I played it in. And the idea is the exact same. When you go into a tournament and you can feast on 90% of the tournament just by existing as Mill and them not having techs, it's a pretty easy free roll if you're just in the hunt for points. So if any IC, if you're looking to hey, I just need to convert to 128 or whatever to get my invite, I think there's much worse choices on the planet. Now, if you're trying to spike the event, I think you need to change your mentality a little bit. But I'm with Rudy. I think it's certainly safe to lock you up a good day 2 spot or a decent finish, but I don't think it's going to take you to the finish line.
Well said. Well said.
There we go. So yeah, I think that's a pretty comprehensive look at Store there. Because I had Store in like my top 3 decks before this. Maybe even I was considering having it at the top, to be honest. So when I saw there was none, I was like, yo. But then, like you said, I was looking through lists and I saw there was a Granbull list, and I saw that had an Oranguru. I wasn't sure if it was just for Mill, but the fact that resource management was in a grand ball list, for Pete's sake. That's people were not taking that loss whatsoever. Hey guys, thanks for watching that video, much appreciated, really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't hesitate to subscribe. I try and put out as much stuff here as I can, full deck profiles plus games, topic conversational pieces regarding anything in the TCG. Check out my Twitter, check out my Facebook, that's where I get most of the updates, sort of see what's going on behind the scenes, all that good stuff. Also check out the SoundCloud for the full bi-weekly podcast. If you're interested, if you like the conversational pieces, go check that out. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a good day.